Hi, welcome to the 5 essential steps in asking for a donation, AKA the ask. My name is Ingrid Tischer. I consider myself an accidental fundraiser of about 30 years, and I now am with Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund as their development director. I approach fundraising as a form of community organizing because we need to organize support in order for our organizations to advance their mission. This video is going to be about one way to do the ask. You'll see that I'm comfortable with video calls, and I've made sure that our donor is as well. So I've set up a Zoom call for us. The steps that you'll be seeing me model are share, action, ask, wait, follow up. I'm going to play the part of the board member, and you'll see me asking for a donation from a past donor. You'll get a sense of what the donor is saying from my active listening and reflecting back what they've said. Here we go. I thank you so much for making time for this conversation. Thanks, yeah, no, it's been tough to make the time. I'm new to this board, and I wanted to let you know a little bit about me. I'm very familiar with the clinic's medical services because once upon a time I was someone who needed them. I didn't have health insurance. I was really shocked though about how nice my nurse practitioner was in a way that I didn't expect. She actually asked me at one point if I was interested in becoming a mother, if I had plans for that. And it may not sound like a lot, but that's a question that nobody in my life ever had asked me. And it, for some reason, made me burst into tears. And she was so cool about it. I've never forgotten it. And I think it's really a great example of how great the medical care there is. I wish I could still go, but I've got health insurance now. Okay, so you've been through some stuff too. Yeah, medical places can be very not great. Yeah, I'm really sorry you have to go through that. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're the people who know best how respectful healthcare is given. Right. The one thing I'm trying to get the word out about and get help with is the way in which many of our people who come in really have a lot of untreated medical conditions, in addition to the thing that they made the appointment for. And the clinicians really need to spend a fair amount of time with them just in order to give them the best possible care. But that would mean making some of the appointments longer. And then that would mean that we see fewer people overall, not what we want. So we want to have at least one more clinic shift per week. And I was hoping you would maybe tell 3 people in your life, how important the clinic is to you and why they should know about it and maybe even support it at some point. It would really help widen your circle. Yeah, I should have guessed that you're already doing that. Yeah, you've been doing it for years. Well, may I ask you to please keep doing it? Yeah. Cool, that's great. And if anyone has any questions that you don't know the answers to, please feel safe coming back to me, and I would be delighted to talk to anybody. Sure. Thank you very much. That's really, really nice that you responded like that. And well, that does bring me to the fundraising question I had for you, because I'm also organizing community financial support. I am a donor, like you are, and I was wondering if you could join me in making another contribution, maybe by December 31st. And I'm hoping you could consider a gift of $1,000. I know that's a lot. I think you gave $750 here, and that's huge on its own. But is 1,000 something you could consider? That's great. Thank you. Nice. Really? I really appreciate that. No, of course you don't need to decide today. Please talk it over with your partner. Yeah. Yeah. Now, would it be okay if I got back in touch with you in maybe a week or 2 weeks? Either one? 2 weeks? Okay. All right. I'll make a note to get back to you in 2 weeks. And we'll see what's coming up. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your. I'm sorry, what? Oh, oh my. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah, if your friend gave the clinic a donation to be used for something, specific, and they didn't get handled properly, that is a problem. Yeah. Do you know if they've tried to talk to the executive director about it? Okay. Yeah. Is there any way I could maybe help? Would you like me to talk to her? Okay. Well, again, I'm here if you need me to do anything. Even if it's just listen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's an important policy and we need to follow it to the letter. I really appreciate you telling me about it. It's not a happy topic. Yeah. Well, we have to be a good steward of the money, right? That people give us. That's important. Look, I'm going to send you a follow-up email with all the stuff we talked about, so that neither one of us has to rely on my number. Yeah. No, it'll be really great to talk to you in a couple of weeks, I hope. Yeah, of course you can get in touch with me before that. Yeah, of course. Well, listen, thanks for all your time tonight. Yes, I appreciate that. No, really, you're the one helping us. Yeah. All right. Well, you take care. We'll talk. Bye now. Okay. So that conversation went, I think, really well. The donor, they were choosing to be there. They were actively engaged in talking with me. They share the personal connection to the organization when I did. And they didn't say no to the gift. Now, getting a clear yes, that would have been great. And sometimes you'll get one, and sometimes you'll get a clear no. And sometimes, despite your best efforts, you'll just never connect with the donor. That happens. But what happened here all bodes really well for them being a donor who sticks with your organization over time, which is ideal. The donor has a partner and they want to talk it over. That's important. It means that they're thoughtful people who give with intention, and that's going to support the mission of the organization. And actually, what's really important too is that sticking with you over time, it pairs well with the funding that you get from, say, a foundation, which might be a large sum of money, but is for maybe 12 months, and then they're gone. So if you have both foundations and donors, you hopefully have money coming in smaller amounts, but over a longer period of time. Okay, so now you've seen one way that the fundraising conversation can go. To recap how I would suggest you can structure yours, what you do is you share why you care about the organization. Hopefully they will then share what they care about. Then you give them an action that they can take with the organization to advance the mission. Then you ask them to join you in financially helping the organization. And then you wait for their answer and follow up in writing. Now, wait a minute there, because I said something earlier about waiting. The moment after you've asked them for their financial help might feel incredibly long and incredibly awkward. But that's really only how it feels on your side of the conversation. The person who's on the receiving end of your request, it's really going to feel probably more like a pause so that they can think about what you just said to them. If you'll notice, I counted off a very generous 6 seconds as my suggested time for you to sit back and wait for the donor to break the silence. There's really no risk this way of you undermining everything you've just done by jumping in and saying nervously, I mean, don't worry if you can't make a gift, it's not a big deal. And the other thing is that when you give the donor the chance to break the silence and tell them and give you their answer, you're sending them the message that they can make the decision themselves. For a lot of us who are in marginalized communities, fundraising has often been about other people making that kind of decision for us or never even asking. So I view fundraising as a form of respect. And the thing is, when you jump in, even if you don't mean anything negative by it, it can easily be received by them. So when you've done all this, no matter what the donor says, eventually, please remember to give yourself credit for what you've done. The odds of you getting a donation have just gone up quite a bit just by you making the ask. So if you don't ask, it's doubtful you're going to get. Can't control the decisions that a donor is going to make. That's for sure. But when you show up to have them and you're actively engaged as a board member, that's what makes your service so important. So thank you for listening to the 5 essential steps in asking for a donation, AKA the ask. I know you're going to probably do great, so don't even worry about it.